Sure.
Okay, right, thanks.
All right, I'm going to call this Hancock County Commissioner Special Meeting for September 19th to order. Let's see, we have the adoption of the minutes, or adoption of the agenda.
I'm going to move to approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And do we have any public comment?
I see no one in there.
All right, no public comment. We'll move on to approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of the September 6, 2023 Commissioners' regular meeting as presented.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we have the DA's approval of,
I'm going to move to approve the chief deputy bond as recommended by the district attorney.
seconded. Any discussion? All those, in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have we, Michael, have we done the sheriff's bond?
Yeah, we did that back in July. So we did that and the ones for the deputies. We just didn't have a name
Didn't
for
have an- yeah,
chief
okay.
deputy at the time.
Have we received notification, written notification from the sheriff on the appointment?
Yep.
We have?
Yep, and I believe that it's been filed in the clerk's office, correct, Teresa?
Yes. And I,
And she has a copy of it in his personnel folder.
In that distribution, that we asked the commissioners to get a copy of those.
I thought you were emailing
yeah,
on
I
that.
thought it was email.
Yeah.
But I can send it
thought I
back.
saw something about the 23rd, effective the 23rd. That's not true, huh?
It's like the 16th.
16th, I thought it was. yeah.
16th.
Yeah.
I'll double check, but I was pretty sure that you got sent a copy.
I can
But,
resend it.
Yeah, we can send it to you.
With a copy of the notice.
The actual, yeah.
Okay.
all right, we're ready for Leroy at the airport.
Leroy, we have your information here on the paving.
Yep.
Paul is away. He won't be back. What'd you find out? Anything yet?
He's gonna be back most likely late Friday.
It'd be the weekend before Paul gets back. Can you wait for him to sign that, or do you need us to do that today?
If we can do it today, they're due to start on the 25th.
I do have an electronic signature for Paul.
Okay, so you could just verify it with him too. Okay,
So if you and I approved it for the chair to sign,
yeah.
he's to the sign. Okay, I guess we're all set. We're gonna do electronic signature after Paul and I approve that.
Okay.
So, understanding the situation, I'm gonna move to approve the contract with your buyer, Atlantic Coast, doing business as Northeast Paving in the amount of $1,625,856.75 for the reconstruction of FAA eligible section of Caruso Drive, the short-term parking lot, and repair the apron, and for the chair to sign.
Seconded. Any other discussion?
Is that work gonna be done this fall?
The apron is gonna be done this fall. The road and the parking lot, they exercised the option to do it in the spring because the grant didn't come through soon enough for them to get it in the schedule. Is what they told us.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any-
Mary? We have, I think that's all we need from you. Thank you. Leroy. All right, now we have the request for the renewal of the request to approve to not renew the wellness plan.
I'm gonna move to approve informing Ultra Benefits of the desire of the county not to renew the existing agreement and to authorize the staff to explore other options for a wellness program.
Seconded. So how do you think, what, do you have a plan in terms of how you're gonna look for other options, or what do you think's gonna, I think that'll work out?
So we have already had a wellness committee meeting where we discussed whether we wanted to continue or look at other options. And that's when they decided they would like to look at other options. We are having Zoom meetings with two organizations, one called Well Beach and one called Health Equity Lifestyle Accounts. that we feel like might better suit our organization and fulfill the need of having a wellness plan.
When do you think you'll be able to come back to us?
I'm gonna guess that, so we're meeting with them on October 6th, I believe. So probably by November, we should be able to have something in place. The current contract we have will stay in place until December 31st. So we'll be able to put that into place and start informing people.
Any questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we have your draft FAOA policy.
Correct.
And two under. Go with this on it.
Just that when I talked with the public access ombudsman, from the Maine Attorney General's office, Brenda, what I did was she spoke to me about trying to divide policy versus procedure and make sure that what we had for policy wasn't something that we are going to be, that could not be shifted, because if it was in policy, it would take us, would be harder for us to shift if something changed within the law. So to make it as simple as possible, which is why I changed it to just this one page. And then the other part, which I had become procedure, which doesn't need to go into our policy book.
Any questions? Bill?
No. I'm going to move to approve the FOAA policy as presented.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we have our draft of the retirement return to work policy. So I saw you did some work on it.
Yeah, well,
Some clarification.
I think Mike and I and Bill,
So in the end, we have an understanding of why the 4%, 5%, right? 5% is charged.
correct, but what we're doing is we're going to be splitting it 3% for the employee and 2% for Maine PERS.
Yeah.
So that there's both groups are able to take some of the weight off of it.
That makes sense. The reason why they have it in there. We can regulate it. So,
Well, it doesn't make sense. I mean, you think it through, it doesn't make sense. I mean, it's, I understand they need that to, you know. But if an employee was eligible to retire with full benefits and retired and came back to work for us, there's a 5% penalty. But if that same employee retired and went somewhere else, went to work, there's no penalty. So for them to say they're trying to preserve, you know, the any lost revenue, well, it's not lost revenue if they retire and go somewhere else to work. But it's lost revenue if they come back to the same
yeah, but
employer.
if they quit and went somewhere else, we'd hire somebody for the position. And then that new person should be paying.
Could be,
Yeah, I
maybe.
mean, yeah. I mean, how many times there's not too often around here that we actually do this position. But, I mean, it happens, but, you know what I mean?
I guess that is a good point. But nevertheless, it is what it is. There's no
Yeah.
sense.
Any other question for us?
And that's it, it appears that one of the things that Mary and I might have talked about was the issue of an employee retiring, getting paid for all their accrued benefit time, coming back to work the next day and getting that all back again after they got paid for it. And trying to preserve that as a carryover, but this appears, it says that Maine PERS requires a cash out of all accrued time with value.
Correct.
So we can't withhold anything. I say we can't hold anything. Is there some, well, just make a difference. there was a benefit that we didn't pay out. There's no advantage of not. We just,
Right, it's just that they come back at the same level. So if they were a detective, they come back as a detective, so they receive the same benefits, but we do have to pay them out because there has to be a hard stop to employment and then a restart of employment. There's even a piece of paperwork I just signed today for somebody that says, or if they're coming back, there's not there's agreement that there are terminated work.
you just said something that maybe you're just talking about an example, but retire and returning to work doesn't mean they necessarily come back to the same position.
It doesn't, but it's an agreement between the department head and that individual.
Right. But we'll say,
To be
let's say they
hired.
had a patrol sergeant retired, no, it's not retirement, came back as the chief deputy. So he'd come back as a different position, but he'd be rehired into the same employee. So that could, or somebody from Deeds retired and decided to come back as a clerk for the DA's office. What, Julie?
I was gonna say the benefit part of it, if you pay them out, the only people that get front loaded are appointed exempt people. Everybody else has to accrue it. So no, unless they retire on December 31st and you pay them out and come back like January 1st and they get 40 hours of EEP time, everybody has to work to accrue their time. So no one is gonna get anything the first day they come back. They won't be loaded with anything unless it's one of Bobby's class people.
Thanks.
Well,
I
no,
understand.
but I'm just saying, right, and not a hourly person. They have to accrue those.
The other thing, John, and I really don't know what to do with this, but one of the benefits, if there is such a thing, to having a tenured long-term employee retire, is that when you replace that employee, they go right back on the pay scale. So now you're paying for somebody perhaps as a C who retired as an I. Big savings there. If this employee retires as an I and comes back as an I, you've lost the ability to save that. And I don't know, in the back of my mind, I was curious as to whether or not there could be an agreement somehow that he comes back at, we'll say, 3 steps lower. Something like that, and have to work his way back up again.
Still think everybody taking offer.
Well, you say that, think about it though, if an employee retires, they got 50% of their pay. And they had to come back, 3% is 10.5%, so they lose 10% of their pay. But they're gonna get 89.5% of their pay plus 50% in their retirement. So I mean, there's still, it's a significant increase in actual earnings. So I don't know if it's even worth going there, but and perhaps that's something between the department head and the employee they can negotiate, but without writing it into the policy. Well, that's all.
Was it in the policy that they're coming back?
No, nothing in the policy that talks about compensation when they come back. Right, Marianne?
Right.
So absent that,
But they
nothing.
have to be somebody in good standing. They have to be somebody who the department head wants to have returned. They do have to have approval. They'll go through the hiring process.
Do what?
They go through the hiring process, right?
No.
Mike?
Well, I mean, if they've already had their background checks and all that stuff, because they're employed, so I mean, it wouldn't be like the traditional hiring process. It more or less would be that consultation with the department head who would then indicate if there's any reason why that shouldn't occur. And then
If a guy failed to meet the requirements for hiring, he ought to be terminated. I mean, think about it for a minute. So, I mean, putting him through this whole process is really kind of silly. He's a tenured employee, and if he's in good standing, work, you know, be in good standing to hire. I don't think it's, does it say that in here, it has to go through the hiring process, do you see that wording? in
No,
there?
I was trying to see whether it said it had to go through you guys to have them approved, but I was trying to remember.
There was an ending that you had, a provision you had put in dealing with if they transferred positions, and they would have, so in other words, if they were rehired in the same position, same department, all that, then it would continue, but in accordance with the personnel policy, that had been suggested to be added because they, personnel policy would require somebody if they were gonna transfer or something of that nature, is what was put in at the end of it.
Now, does that include promotions within the department as well as transfers into another department?
So it was transferred into another department, if I recall.
But promotions within a department requires commissioner approval too, right? Anytime there's a change in pay,
Well, there was a change in pay.
there would be if it was a promotion, so
But that would be automatic.
we simply apply the policy.
Policy as it's
Yeah,
done.
right. And that's all consultation between HR and the department and the employee. Get
Correct.
all those things worked out and follow the policy. Well, I don't see anything else, and I'd like to move to approve the retire back to work policy as presented.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. We have taken care of the district attorneys. Are you here for district attorney? Colin, we've already taken care of that bond. We're all set and approved.
Okay.
You're good to go.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Colleen.
Yes.
Is that the original?
Actually,
Sign,
this is
can I
what-
have that?
Being your.
And that way-
See, I just want to keep running late, so can we speak? We'll get down on the agenda.
Why don't you hold on just a minute, Chuck? Do we want to do anything with this without Paul here? And I say that because I was totally lost in the presentation last time. Paul appeared to have a grasp on it. I'm no further ahead in understanding it today than I was back then. Paul's not here to chime in on it. And is there an urgency in getting this done today, Chuck?
No, there isn't.
So the only thing, so on the, so anything with the de-factor authentication is we were wanting to see if they could come back with a price for a multi-year contract.
And you did,
Didn't we get that?
yes,
Did we have
So
that?
that's part of it. I mean, I'll be honest.
You think so?
Yeah.
Are you prepared to approve it today?
Yeah.
As written, as presented?
Yeah.
Because I have no discussion, I have no questions, I have no comments, I'm just gonna do what you tell me to do, John.
All right.
All right, then, I'm going to move to approve the multi-factor authorization process as presented, and do we want to add the 5-year cost out of our?
5 year.
Okay, let's, hang on just a minute. As presented with a 5-year payment from ARPA.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Acceptable use policy.
So if you can let Daniel know that,
Will do.
Yep.
And the second part of the policy, he was presenting that, we can wait on that as well.
Yeah, that would be preferred, because he just sent out a different policy last night. And there's a computer use policy that he added there too, so, yeah, we've got to connect and find out what
What
you want to actually present, yeah.
All right, so we'll wait on this one.
so we're not gonna take any action on it.
Dennis. All right, we got 5 proposals. So Dennis, this is essentially a proposal from Lisa Mon, doing the engineering work, right, for
Right, to do the design, scope, along with Dick Rollins, who's a mechanical engineer of the jail fixtures and plumbing that we discussed.
So let's say, we approve this and everything. What are our phases it's going to go through?
We'll continue through the development phase where we'll identify areas that need correcting, and we'll give from a plan and specifications for materials and approach or work method. And then that will be brought back to you along with the price that is, that will be, again, a not to exceed price.
So is it still, it'll still go, is it still something we're gonna put out to bid, right? They're just doing the design.
They're just doing the design, and so part of this, though, my feeling is that E.L. Shea is working with us on this project. And since they built the jail, it might be a good argument for a single source in this particular case. Not to mention the troubles that we have finding qualified vendors anyway, but,
Do you think,
so I'm gonna recommend that.
we're kind of doing this into the fall, winter time period?
Yeah, for sure. This would
It's
be,
probably gonna be a little easier for us to find, for them to maybe make time to get it done, since it's a major busy season.
right, that's right. Hopefully,
Hopefully, yeah, let's see.
I'll try to find a plumber.
So this is the actual contract between us.
That's a draft of it, yeah, of what you bring to you,
So
probably the next meeting.
we take no action on this, we just tell you to go ahead.
Go ahead, this part would be, so I present his formal record, his formal version at the next meeting.
Just what we'd approve and sign.
So this is just a tacit approval, ready to move forward.
And I think part of the agreement.
How about the update on the steps?
I've heard back from Becker, E.L. Shea, and he's in the process of putting together a timeline and a start date, which I think might be as early as next week, possibly. But I told him it would be at least 3 days of notice to manage traffic, et cetera, down the line. But they've agreed to that. And,
They're getting ready to start.
yeah, I think before the end of the month,
Do we have an approved contract for them? Fully approved?
we do. The contract, the figures that you approved were sent out last week to Paul for the chairman to sign. And he's not here at this time. But it was for the base price and the two
Oh, remember that,
additions that you approved.
remember that discussion, Monica?
There was.
We had a couple of additions that we.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was
And I sent it up
discussion
to Mike and him to avoid any further delays at all.
August 15th meeting is when you took action on
So it's just a matter now, Paul, just some
it.
signatures.
So Paul signed,
Yes.
yeah, Paul signed it. That's
This-
on
He'll be
track,
back,
so.
he'll be back this weekend. Next week.
Yeah, the same agreement, nothing changed. And I asked E.L. Shea to handle the additional paving, the information that requested, and anything that wasn't a fixed cost, handle it as a change order as we're going. Since that
Well,
paving is
we
the
did-
very end of the project.
Yeah,
nobody-
we didn't discuss the paving.
No, you didn't approve that, so I left that out of the contract.
Wow. That's $1.6 million to pay that, do it.
131,000.
What?
131 was the cost. 131,000.
Oh, no, I don't remember thinking, yeah.
And that was the net cost. They backed some costs out of the contract that would normally deal with it and then plug this figure in to deal with a whole lot instead of just what they disturbed.
Do you want to revisit that? I'd like to get it done. I'd like to get the parking lot done.
Sounds like maintenance of the parking lot.
Mhm.
How often do you have to repay for the parking?
We did,
It was done, I want to say,
15 years ago,
in '07.
16 years ago, yeah.
Let's say it's right for our,
Well, it would be an APA project. And I mean, I don't know how this sounds, I say it because it's APA, I guess maybe we could afford to spend a few more bucks, but still. I mean, we're doing business right now with Northeast Paving. Would they be interested in the project or bidding on the project? I'm just curious.
Well, the way it's structured now, we could I'd happily put him in touch with E.L. Shea if they come in. I think he has maybe Ring Paving or a local.
Yeah, he has
Vendor.
rings doing it. And, you still got, I mean, you got Ken Dugas did it last time.
Right.
You've got Eaton's paving,
Sure.
which is very competitive.
Yeah,
I think this behooves us to, ask Dennis to get some prices from maybe those four, Northeast,
sure.
Northeast Eaton's, Dugas,
Yeah.
and, what did I say?
Rings
Well,
would
Rings is
use
already, Rings is
Eaton's,
already.
Northeast, Eaton's, and Dugas.
So let's get those three and just see how close. If, and I would say that if those bids come in close, let's just stay with Rings, because Rings is gonna have to do the patching for the disturbed work, and then another bid is gonna have to come in and do the overlay. Or however they're gonna.
It is kind of two separate things. There's gonna be a work area that's demoed, work done, then repaired, prepped, ready for paving. Why would you do all that if you're gonna put someone in and pave the whole thing? So,
What'd you work on that, Dennis?
yeah, I will.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Our commissioners section, and I can have the health insurance discussions, is that right? Table that for now.
Yes, and just by way of information and whatnot, I'm going to work with HR, Michael, and other interested members to. I'd like to see, first of all, the policy rewritten. But I'm going to suggest that we develop, and I'm going to call it a guide to human resource officer for the administration of a retiree employee program, or a plan, whatever. So that we have the policy, but then we have a guide, very, very specific as to the process for how to apply and handle retiree benefits. So we'll talk about that later, but we'll do that. So, yeah, we're gonna put this off for a later meeting. Julie, you have an employee thinking about retirement. Is she waiting for this policy? Do you think she might be? Well, we'll keep that in mind, but I think we need to take our time and do it right. This has been sporadic, it's been inconsistent now for the last 20 years, so. Shelley, you here for that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Can I, in the procedure thing that you're talking about, I was part of why I looked at you like I wanted to, besides just the health insurance, I think perhaps maybe all the rest of the stuff that goes along with someone retiring, like any time, like, I think it should all be laid out in there, how it would be dispersed or whatever. I mean, anything that they would have. And that way, no matter who's in the office, if someone resigns, these are the things that.
Well, I think there should be a checklist perhaps of all those things, but
There
But
is
as-
no guidelines,
Yeah.
and that's a huge problem for us downstairs.
and I think that's what leads to the inconsistency of how this applied when somebody retires. And I can only say, Julie, that I've taken a real sincere interest in this portion, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't have the time or the interest to help with this checklist. That's
Oh,
going to have to be
no,
ATA's
but-
responsibility.
But but I kind of thought like Michelle could give input on her side, and I know Mary Ann had a checklist like of different things that you look for. That I'm just thinking that those are things that we could put into this little guide.
It should be. I mean, I think there's a checklist, there used to be with Rebecca here, a checklist of new hires. I'll make sure everybody's, and this should be the same one for retirees, so it's a good suggestion. So I'm going to move that we go into executive session pursuant to NRSA Title 1, Section 456D for union contract negotiation.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Tim,